know if you had a jet fuel stove, you wouldn't have to have a windscreen.
They did tune in to hear us bicker.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Well, quit telling me.
You're the one that likes to give out tips. Why can't I give you a tip?
Okay, what's your tip?
My tip is to get a better stove where you don't have to have a windscreen and mess up your pot koozie.
No,
or your
it's
meal
not
koozie.
a better stove. I need to have a windscreen. I didn't have a windscreen at the time, so I used what I could find.
Or you could just get a better stove.
I've
and
got
not
a
have to worry
windscreen.
about have
Hey,
a
y'all.
windscreen at all. Hey.
Don't listen to him.
No, I'm
sorry y'all had to hear that, but
I'm definitely right on this one.
I've got a windscreen. Anyhow, we're going to be making some, you want to call them pot koozies, meal koozies, whatever, but that's what it is. I've already made a bunch for the people that are going to be going on the trip with us. I make a big one and a small one for the oatmeal and one for the mountain house. We're going to make one tonight. We're going to film you, show you how we make them. Whenever you pour these mountain house meals, I love them. There's so many different kinds of flavors. Me personally, my favorite is the spaghetti and meat sauce. What's your favorite?
I would probably say the chili mac, but I can eat it and he can't because he's an old man and he gets all that heartburn and stuff,
It is spicy, and I don't like to take a chance of waking up with acid reflux. So I eat the spaghetti with meat sauce. I eat the spaghetti meat sauce. This right here is scrambled eggs with bacon that I'm going to use as a wrap. Actually, I'm going to put my tortilla shells and I'm going to eat this as a wrap. But when you pour hot water into these, if you've ever eaten one of these mountain houses, when you put the hot water in there, it's hard to hold. I mean, that heat transfers right out of the aluminum pack and into your hands, and it's hard to hold.
Insert.
So what we've got is these meal koozies. And they serve two purposes. This is actually too small, by the way. Well, it might fit. Serves two purposes. One, you put your meal koozie, or you put your meal in the koozie, and then close it up. Yeah, this is too small. It's way too small.
Sure is.
But it'll still work.
Because once you put water in
once
it,
you
it's not
put
gonna be able
water
to
in
fit
it, exactly. No, it will. It will.
That size is not going to fit.
It might. We'll find out. You can set it off to the side now, stir it up, shake it up, whatever you want to do. Put it off to the side and let it steep, because you got to let this thing sit a while. According to the instructions, 8 ounces of boiling water, let stand 5 to 6 minutes. You got to shake it up and stir it up and all that. So this will let it sit for 5 minutes without all that heat transferring through
It'll keep it warm.
conduction.
It'll keep it warm.
The heat will transfer from the boiling water into the aluminum foil and then out into the air, and it'll cool off. But if you keep it in this, it will stay hot. I also make a small one because when I eat my oatmeal in the morning, I'll take my freezer bag, stick it in here, because the freezer bag's a lot thinner than that, so I can just eat straight out of the koozie. It's great. So there's only a few materials that you'll need for this. A roll of aluminum tape, a pair of scissors. Get your own scissors. Don't borrow your wife's scissors, because you are cutting metal. Metal? Yeah, metal. I'll show you in a minute. And if you want to, you can use a magic marker. What you want to get, and the only place I could find this in the area local to me was at Lowe's. I went to Home Depot. They had it, but at another store. Lowe's is across the street. I went to Lowe's. This is called Reflectix. What you want to look for is this. This is Reflectix. It's about $15 for a roll that is, where's the dimensions on that?
Right there.
Where? Oh, okay, 16 inches by 25 feet. And I've already made 8 of these, and I still got a bunch of stuff left. So we're gonna take the camera, come down here on the floor, and we're gonna roll it out, measure it out, and make one real quick for the whiny little youngin' over here, because when he has it too big.
No, actually, I'm going to keep the big one now after seeing you try to put it in that little bitty one that's not going to fit.
You got to be careful when you do this to make sure you've got plenty of room for the bag. So take your actual mountain house and measure it out, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's roll this out, see what we got. So yeah, I did measure that one a little off. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Mountain House package that we're going to use. We're going to measure it out and see what we got. What you want to do is have enough material to cover the back and the front. And the front's going to be a little bit shorter than the back. And then the flap needs to be enough to come down and obviously tuck all the way in there as far as possible. We're also going to make a pot koozie for my cook pot because I haven't had one yet. And I'm probably going to be cooking some of that freeze-dried or that dehydrated chicken that I made. And go to our blog because I did a little article on dehydrating chicken. It's the first time I ever dehydrated the chicken, and it actually turned out pretty good. I got pictures on the different times that it was soaking in the water. With dehydrated chicken, you actually want to let it soak and rehydrate for a couple hours before you actually start cooking, just to save fuel. All right, so you can use a ruler if you want. I got a ruler around here somewhere, or you can just sort of whoop it in there, do it the South Georgia way, and whoop it in there, and figure out about what you want, because you got to, like he mentioned, like Mike mentioned a while ago, you got to have enough room for the water to fill up as well. So I'm going to figure I've got a little bit of distance over here. That looks about right. So I'm going to take it. I'm just going to mark down right there. Just eyeball it if you want. Now, basically what Reflectix is bubble wrap with 2 pieces of aluminum foil. See if you can zoom in tight on that edge right there. That right there is bubble wrap with aluminum foil on the top and the bottom. You got it? Okay. So, if you look, you can see the pattern of the bubble wrap, and you can actually use that to mark your straight lines, either with the marker or you can just cut right through it. So I've marked that, and we'll transfer that line over to here, and I'm just going to mark it. So now that I've got my width, now I've got to figure out how much extra I'm going to come down. So we'll take the Mountain House, like I said, the front needs to be a little bit shorter. So we're going to pull that out and figure out about where we want to go here. This stuff is cheap and you can make a bunch out of it, so if you want to measure a little bit bigger, that's fine. So we're going to go up about 1 row there. So there's that. We've got that. Now we just draw the lines. Do, 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 do. Alright, so now that you've cut your pattern, if you want to leave it just like it is, that's fine, but what I like to do is I like to find the middle. I like to give it a little bit of design. Now, on the back side, what you want to do is, because this is going to be taped down each side, you want your flap to kind of come in a little bit, so you'll be able to flip it down in there without disrupting the tape, because I have done a couple of them where I did not do that, and the tape, it puts a little bit extra stress on that particular junction. So what you want to do is you want to come in, and I usually come in about 2 of these little sections, if you want to call them that. So figure out where you want to put it. And like I said, I suggested coming down a little bit below the top of the bag, which will be right there. Come in 2 sections. Right there, 2 sections. And then what you do is you trim that out. It does not take long if you can keep up with your lines. Dadgum, I lost the line again. There it is. So I just take two sections. I come into and I start cutting. Not rocket science. If you just want to whoop it in there, that's fine too. Now when you get to the top, again, to sort of make it easier, at least for me, it makes it easier to put a corner. put a radius on the corner. So this is what you end up with. Okay, you got your front flap that comes down here. This will be taped, and then that'll go down, and looks like we got it a little bit too high, but whenever you put the meal in, this was all going to get thick and it's going to puff out, so that's going to be about right. Now this is the easy part. When you stick this aluminum tape to the koozie, it is stuck. It's very difficult to remove a tape once you get it stuck. It's also kind of difficult to get it to peel apart. Figure out where your distance is. Measure out a little bit less than what you actually need.
You mean a little bit less than the size?
Whatever length you need, you want to measure a little bit less. Peel back your sticky part away from your paper, and it will crinkle up on you, so you just got to be careful with it. Measure about half the distance of the tape, and like I said, once it's stuck, it's stuck. Now you got two options here. You can keep these kind of flat and square up here on the edges, or you can pinch them together real tight and fold the tape over. I find that that works a little bit better if you go ahead and really get down on it. And push it together. And then once we get this side done, I'll show you how we kind of dress it out a little bit. Mike, have you ever messed with this aluminum tape?
No, I have not, and I like to stay away from it. That's why I let you do these things.
It is some kind of sticky.
I'll let you take care of these.
Alright.
This is Steve's little world right here.
I'm not showing the room,
Because Steve really likes to eat.
And
so he will do everything.
Like to eat on the trail.
He will do everything that he can to make sure that he can eat.
Absolutely.
And eat as much as possible.
When you're eating on the trail, when you're backpacking, you need all the calories you can get, so you gotta eat. You might as well make it taste good. Now, if you want to, this can serve two purposes. Having items in your pack that are multifunctional is the key. So when we stop on the trail,
He can't talk.
and we sit down to take a break, it's a nice little comfortable little pad for you, if you don't mind sitting on it. So, there's your little cushion. Now, to make the oatmeal bag, you do it the exact same way, only smaller. Now, a pot koozie is a little bit different. What you got to do is you got to make your bottom and a side. This, you just fold in half, all right? Figure out, okay, so I got plenty of room to work with here, so you need to figure out how much distance you want to make. This is the way I make mine. You can't make the bottom until you make the side, because the bottom will be too small if you don't include the outer wrap. Alright, so now that we've got enough length to go around the circumference of the pot, the diameter of the bottom will be all of that, so you just put the pot to where it's flush up against the bottom and figure out what your distance is. And there's my distance. So I'm just going to measure to the very top rim of this pot, because that's where I want my pot koozie to go, and I measure that out. Now, the handle that I took off needs to be in there somehow. That's too long. I'm gonna take one section off of here. Beautimous. Okay. So now what do I do about that? My handle can't be in the way, so just mark a section and cut it out. Now, the reason I didn't put the handle here is because that's going to be a taped area. It's already weak, so I want a good stretch of tape along here, so that's why I'm cutting it on this side. And if you want to get real picky, you can take your straight razor and cut that, but if you ain't figured it out already, I'm not that picky. Now I've got my distance, and that's going to be about flush, and there's my handle. Figure out my tape. On this case, I want to measure out the distance plus some. And I'll explain why in a second. So now what you want to do is fold the flaps over on the tape to grab the other side. And if you want to, you can even tape that side if you want, but I never have. Turn it inside out. Being careful to hold your seam together with one hand and just working with the other hand. Pretty tight fit. Now we work on the bottom. Find you a section of the Reflectix. Looks pretty good to me. Now you start taping it up. You got two options here in my opinion. You can figure out the circumference, diameter, whatever you want to call it, and cut off that much tape, or you can cut off a couple of sections just to hold it in place, and that's usually what I do. And then I go back and tape the whole thing. If you do want to do the entire piece, I recommend doing it a section at a time. Just keep the paper on most of it, line it up, get it as straight as you can, and pull back the paper as you go. Making the adjustments where you need to. And then just work it over. Now this is aluminum. It will bend and crease. Just take your time. And you end up with a nice little pot koozie. Now there's a lot of folks out there that use those tin cans. I mean those titanium pots, those titanium coffee cups, and they also make a koozie lid to go on the top of it. And what they end up with is a shorter version of this that goes over the top like that. But in this case, I've got a good lid, and I kind of like to let it vent that way. I don't have to have one on the top, so that's what I'll take with me. As far as weight goes, for the gram weenies, that pot koozie weighs 18 grams, 26 grams. In ounces, wow. What's that? 5/8 of an ounce.
He's old.
I don't have my glasses on. 3/4 of an ounce. So there you go. You got a pot koozie and a mountain house koozie.
It's always good to have some, you know, little projects here and there. There's always good ways that you can do stuff like this and really save yourself a few bucks. And also, you know, you can have a little pride on the trail when you can say, you know, hey, yeah, I came up, you know, and I had some guys that were had some videos online, and I was able to actually make this in about 15 minutes, and it's a very vital part of my pack. You always want to have something that you can kind of be proud of and know that you had your hands in it, and instead of just going down to your local store and buying everything. It's always kind of fun to play around with different ideas that you can have with making stuff like this.
DIY projects are good. It keeps you busy. Like you said, the pride on the trail. In fact, I was up on the Smoky Mountains with my brother-in-law, and when I broke this out, nobody knew what it was. And when I stuck my food in there and set it off to the side, 20 minutes later it was still piping hot and I wasn't burning myself eating it. They all started calling me MacGyver because I had this, my paracord donut, I had a handmade saw and all kinds of crap. But when you pull out something that you've made that nobody else has have, it really makes you stand out, and you're going to enjoy your meal a little bit better.
And another thing is if you do come across areas where you don't need this, or if this gets damaged or something, instead of having to go down to your local store and buy something that would actually replace something that came from the store, you can always just trash this out. It costs you pennies to make this.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a lot less, especially with the economy the way it is, you're talking about a lot less invested in a good quality product.
And this stuff is a lot lighter than probably anything you can buy that does just as good a job.
We appreciate you watching, and don't forget,
Plan right and pack light.